Hey friends, I'm Tammy and my YouTube channel is Quilty Nest. Today I'm working on block 1 of the Sew Sampler Flowering Quilt Along. This is block 1 and it's called You Grow Girl. I love that name. They are making it at Fat Quarter Shop in Summertime by Camille Ross Kelly, and I'm going to make it in my fig tree stash. So it's going to be kind of scrappy. So come along with me as I sew along, or stay for a chat with me as I make this block. If you've got questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. If you like what you're seeing, please like it and subscribe. I would love to have you on my YouTube channel. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing I have done, I starched and pressed my fabric and then I cut it out, and I've got all my pieces here and I have them labeled. I will say that my block G, I didn't cut it out of the same fabric for all the pieces, because G goes in the corners, but it also goes in the center, and my center and corners are going to be different fabrics. So I did make note of that. I needed one G block in this print and the remainder of the G blocks in the gingham. So I've got them all cut out to the sizes in the directions, and I'm going to get started with it. Refer back to your instructions, your pattern, especially if it comes with images, so you can make sure you've got the right placement. And I encourage you to go slow and look and make sure, double check. It's there's a phrase carpenters use, and I'm sure quilters alike, measure twice, cut once. Well, also looking at the diagram, looking at the photos of the blocks you're making, double check, and then you won't have to use your seam ripper as often. So let's get started. I'm going to return those to my pin cushion that I made out of scraps. I also stuffed it with scraps because why not? Okay, I have my 1/4 inch foot on my machine, which is what I will need for these first few blocks, and it has a edge on it where my fabric will not go past that 1/4 inch, so I make sure I get as accurate a 1/4 inch seam as possible. Okay, so my first step is to take my A square, or my A pieces, and put them aside because I don't need them right away. My next thing I'm going to do is take my B pieces and my G pieces and stitch them to each other. I am making sure my iron is ready to go. For this, I don't think I need to pin these. My fabric is pretty stiff. It's clinging together pretty well, edge to edge, so I feel good about not pinning them. But if you're having trouble with accuracy, or you want to pin, you go right ahead. You do you, boo. And there are no sewing police on this channel, and there are no rules except yours. Now I'm going to chain piece, which means I'm not going to cut my thread, not going to lift my presser foot. I'm just going to keep going until I've sewn all 4 pieces. Okay, I'm back. I have pressed these. Now my instructions tell me to put piece A with the BG block I've made. It does matter how you position this. A block will be at the top. Your A and B block. It does matter how you position these. You want your A block on top, and then your BG block on bottom, and you're going to put the seam, of course, right there. So A on top, BG on bottom, and that's how it's going to work for all 4 pieces. Since I pressed this seam to the side, I don't think I'll need to pin, but I'm not confident in that, so I'm going to pin. The next item I have on my instructions is to draw a diagonal line on block F. I need to draw a diagonal line on these. Now some people may want to use seam tape. Right now I'm doing diagonal lines because it seems like I'm getting better accuracy with those. A tip for marking small blocks, so when you've got the ruler down like this and you're marking, sometimes a smaller block wants to wiggle, which can get your line off center. What I like to do with the smaller blocks is hold it at an angle and put pressure on it, and that way my fabric doesn't slide around. So from point to point, now I've got to, this is piece F, I've got to get piece I. There's pieces I. And my instructions tell me that I am going to put one on like this in the upper left corner, stitch it down, I'll trim and press, and then there'll be another one like a mirror image to it on this side. It's almost like creating a little flying goose on the end. You want to make sure you have put on the left one first and in the direction from lower left to upper right. Then you want to make sure you do the right one second in the direction of lower right, upper left. I like to use the glue method. I should have left my little cutting board up here. So to protect my surface down there, I'm going to use this little cutting board. In the glue method, the area that I'm going to trim off, I just put a few dots of glue, maybe more than a few. And instead of having to pin, it'll be glued, still placing it like I would for pinning, edge to edge. And I'll go ahead and do each piece. And if it hasn't dried well enough, I will press it with the iron so I can move on along. I really like it. Never had a problem with this getting gunked up or stopped up. I think one time I left it open too long while I was sewing, like several hours, and I just put a pin in it to kind of get it started, but that's only happened once. I used to only hand tighten it instead of using my screwdriver, and over time it makes my hands ache if I'm having a long day of having to take it on and off, as well as I can't get it as tight with my hand as I can the screwdriver, and I'm concerned that it'll work its way loose while I'm sewing. Well, you know, I'm a ding dong. I meant to press just the edge so my ink didn't disappear, but I didn't do that. What I'm going to do though is use my seam tape so I don't have to remark it. And all that does is from the point, you always start on the point, of course, and you want to end on the point, having sewn a straight line across. So this corner that I'm sewing towards, I keep that on the red line. I watch that corner the entire time, making sure it stays aligned with the red line. I don't watch my needle, because if I watch my needle, the red line may go in and out of alignment with the point that I'm sewing toward. I will say one of the reasons I like drawing the line, especially for these smaller ones, is because it's easier for me to do a scant stitch, meaning I'm about one thread over. So a scant stitch would be just one thread over to the end, to this side. That way when I fold it over, it seems like I have better accuracy. All right, so now I'm just going to take my tailor scissors and trim these off. Love them. I've also got the ones that are about half this size. Love those too, but I've got them in a project bag right now. Coming up, you're going to see me make a mistake, and I still don't recognize it. Snip. It's just a crisper cut, straighter cut. You don't have to have an exact 1/4 inch seam here. And these are trash because they're glued together. Plus, they're not big enough for the crumb quilt that I would do. All right, so I've got one side done. I need to set my seam by pressing for about 3 seconds. Then I'm going to press to the light side, which actually that's what the instructions tell me. I'm going to press it. So let's do that. I think I will put these under the clapper for a couple minutes because I want these seams to lay flat as possible. And I'm going to show you an error I just made and notice now. You may have noticed it while I was doing it. What's wrong with this block? This piece? I sewed right side to wrong side, and I've already trimmed it. It's salvageable. I just need to be cautious fixing it. Get off center. See y'all, I can't talk and sew at the same time. I don't know how I did that. Well, I mean, I know how I did it, but block D, or piece D, piece H. These are going to make flying geese. So I can do the method I just did with the drawing the line and gluing it down, or I can use my seam tape. So I think I'm going to just use my 1/4 inch tape to do these while the other ones are cooling down with my clappers, and do all the same sides and then do the other side is how my instructions tell me, and that way they'll all be uniform. You know what, I changed my mind. I with these being so small, I want to be sure I go over that scant. Okay, while those are cooling, and I just want you to see, because of the way I made that boo-boo, you'll notice that I had to stitch it first on the right because I made that error. And that's okay. It won't be completely uniform, meaning this side will be underneath the left side and all of the other ones will have the left side on underneath the right, but no one's going to notice once it's stitched and quilted. And if someone does, they're too close to it anyway. And I'm not entering any quilt shows with it, trying to get a master award or anything like that, so I'm okay with it. Back to this piece, I need to make my other side of the flying goose, and you'll notice some of them may be off a little bit. It needs to be trimmed. I'm going to trim these up when I'm finished making the entire flying goose. Block C, block K. These are half square triangles. They need a diagonal line, but for half square triangles, you don't sew on the diagonal line. You sew 1/4 inch away from it on each side. Half square triangles. Let's see. Trim these down to the size they need to be by the instructions. So now with my Creative Grids ruler, there is a diagonal line. That diagonal line I'm going to match. Let's see. I'm going to match that diagonal line to the diagonal line, the seam, and measure it so I can get the size I need by what the instructions are telling me. Now, I do want to shape these flying geese up because they're a little unruly. There. So I'm going to shape those up to the size that it calls for. A design board. That's what I like to do, to lay my pieces out and make sure I've got them all in the right spot. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to lay them here so you can see better. It also makes sure I've got all the pieces I need. Sometimes I may have not cut enough or misplaced a piece. Okay, so that looks good. Got some more piece D, I think this is, or C. Piece C to use. Oh wait. For this specific pattern, I had the wrong block. We have these. So I need to sew each row together, and then I'll come back and join the rows that I've sewn together. While I'm waiting for that to cool, we can go back to piece J, and I need to take these and stitch 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so each of these need a background square stitched to the top. Okay, got those on the clapper. Now here I am going to have to match up seams. And fortunately, I think these will nest, so it'll make it easier. Stop! Okay, I've got all these pressed and the seams look good. Let's have something sticky. What is that? Okay, I've got to build my block. One of these go on each side. So I'm going to pin those. It's going to be a little tricky because you want the seams to match up here. And what I'm going to do is draw my 1/4 inch seam allowance on both sides so I can see where they meet and pin those. And what that looks like is this. On the back, so I can see it best on the back. Of course, I won't see it if I put it on the front. I'm going to align this. First of all, this one's a little wonky. Let me square it up. Got just a little too much on this one side. It's a little uneven. Gonna make my 1/4 inch seam. Oof. Sliding around. Put it on the wrong side anyway, bless my heart. And this part, I may have to undo it several times. So what I'm going to do, instead of stitching that entire length, I'm going to stitch with a longer stitch length, make sure I've got it in the right spot, and then go back and sew, because I want these to match up. I don't want them to look wonky. I'm going to pin. I see that my seam crosses here. See where my seam crosses? See if I can get some light. The seam right here is where it meets, and I've got the blue line. So where the seam meets and the blue line is, that's where I want to pin. So the seam and the blue line, I'm going to poke it through here where the seam meets and the blue line is, showing my 1/4 inch. Then I want to find where the seam meets and my blue line over here. So I put my pin here on the blue line where my seam meets, hoping you can see that. And I poked it through where the seam and the blue line meet over here. Now I'm going to make sure my pin's straight so the seam is aligned. Then I'm going to pin on each side of it before I remove that pin. I'm going to lengthen my stitch and sew just in that specific area and make sure it looks good before I stitch the whole piece. And I'm going to repeat this for all 4 pieces on each side. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Yay, all my points matched up, y'all. I am so excited about that. Now I'm just gonna lower my stitch length again and stitch these pieces all the way from top to bottom. I'm gonna set my seam, press these according to the directions, put on my clappers, and let those seams get flat. Look how my star block turned out. Pretty, pretty. Okay, I have pressed my seams and they've cooled under a clapper. I've placed them in the position they need to be sewn in on my design board. So I'm going to pick these up as they go, pin them, sew them, and we're almost finished with this block. So I'm really liking how it's turned out so far. I think I'm going to enjoy this one. All right, I'm going to start with my bottom row, or it could be the top row because they both look alike. Comparing it to the diagram in my instructions to make sure I don't have any oopsies. Sew Sampler subscription box from Fat Quarter Shop, Block 1, April 2025, the Flowering Quilt Along. And this one's called You Grow Girl. I used mostly fig tree fabrics. I am very, very happy with it. It would look pretty on point in a layout. At the end of the quilt along in April of 26, they'll give you their layout, or you can do your own. So we shall see. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.